next one I got on my list is gonna be Sinners, and this is the latest film from Ryan Coogler, director. You might know him from Fruitvale Station, Black Panther, the Creed series. In this film, trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their Mississippi hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. And this film stars Michael B. Jordan, Hailee Steinfeld, Lin Jun Lee, 10 Freaky Girls, aka Omar Benson Miller, Wunmi Mosaku, Jane Lawson. We've also got Delroy Lindo in this, and Miles Caton. I think these guys make up our main cast, as well as Jack O'Connell, who plays, our bad vampire leader in this film. But I guess you just saw this a few hours ago, man. What did you think of this?
Yes, I love this film. It might be my favorite so far. I'm just gonna say it. It might be my favorite film I've seen so far this year.
Hmm.
Um, I like to where we were introduced to these characters. We didn't go directly into the story, of the vampires and everything. We were it kind of reminded me slightly from Dust Till Dawn because you had like a bit of a heist thing happening before, or kind of. I
Hmm.
liked how we were introduced to the cast, you know, in that town, the main characters in that town, and kind of put them in that situation. I
Hmm.
really, it's still fresh, but overall, I just loved it. I loved everything about the music, the design, cinematography is amazing in this film. Special effects, everything about it, I just liked, and I really liked how it was like music based, based on the blues and everything, and really different types of music because music kind of has a link to human spirituality and everything. So thought this was an amazing film. Thought it was told real well, and I'm
Yeah.
rambling right now, but I'll get you.
No, it's cool, man. Because
To,
I don't know, I was having the same impact, man. So I got it in yesterday, but I went and saw it again this morning just to kind of settle in on my thoughts of it. This is B-rate movie material, man, to be honest. But what Coogler has done to infuse this with his style of filmmaking, and bumped it up, like you said, with the cinematography, weaving in the musical elements. This thing takes place in Clarksdale, Mississippi, in the 30s. So what I think also, which is cool, which is brought to the forefront, is just putting a lot of the Southern culture on display in this thing, man. You got Southern music, you got Southern mysticism, spirituality, and it's just really cool. Even the racial dynamics of the time, they're in the background of this. They play a part in the story later. So that's kind of interesting. But also, man, the music, the blues, because we've even got that whole conflict, it's kind of tropey, but the conflict of the preacher's son and the music of the devil, you know what I'm saying? Even it reminds me of that old lore about the guy that sold his soul to the devil to teach him how to play the guitar, you
yeah,
know.
Robert Johnson. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's cool, man. But also, I think the character, the acting in this thing stand out a bit too, man. Because you got Michael G. B. Jordan playing two characters at the same time. Like comically, we've seen people do this in the past, like John-Claude Van Damme in Double Impact. You know, I love that movie. Well, but that's always been interesting. So I think it's cool to have Michael B. Jordan do this, and he does a really good job of making these characters distinct without knowing their names, even their mannerisms, their body language. You could kind of tell them apart. One of them is a little bit more laid back. One of them is really more serious and on edge. But these are bad guys, man, and they don't really um, make no ifs, ands, buts about it. When we
yeah,
meet these
yeah.
guys, it's like whoa, and the way the town has reacted to them and all that. I think that story's cool. Guys that left this town, went up north to find their fortune, actually found it. Coming back to try to restart their
Make more
lives all
money.
over. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's cool, man. He does a great job. Wunmi Mosaku here, she's cool. Playing a root doctor, man. So that's wild. You don't really see much of this. I think that one film that came out years ago with man, I can't remember her name. And she had the guy tied up and the thing doing roots on him. That movie was good, man. It was kind of like a black Southern misery. I can't remember her name right
Oh,
now. You know what I'm talking about. But I finally saw that movie. And that was amazing, man, seeing that. But you don't really see this type of character brought up. And I thought it was interesting that one of our characters has a romantic relationship that because usually down so you the root doctor, they could do some stuff for you, but most people avoid them unless they if they don't have to, you know what I'm saying? That's like
Yeah,
some
yeah,
spooky
yeah.
kind of, it's like the person that was in Pumpkinhead that you go see, that woman in, like, yo, you don't go there unless it's serious, man. Shout out to Delroy Lindo. He plays Slim, a blues piano man who's a drunk. They hired this guy to come play for them, on this opening night that this thing takes. This is like a 24-hour movie. Everything in this movie takes place in the span of 24 hours, but Delroy, man, he was eating up the scenery, man. I love that he was in this
Yeah,
movie,
yeah.
and he's a real good bit of relief and something that just helped, ground this film a whole lot, man. I definitely love his character, man. He was a nut in this thing. Miles Clayton, our Sammy, who kind of gets this thing started. He's a young guy that probably used to be Slim or used to be like the twins, a guy that's interested in striking off and leaving this small town to find his fortune and live out his dream. And wildly enough, he's one of these gifted musicians that I like how they introduce in the beginning. We get a little voiceover. He can, raise the spirits and uplift people and
Hmm.
bring joy, but also that energy can also attract evil. So that's what kind of brings our vampire element to interact with these guys. Shout out to Lee Jun Lee, who's just plays a store owner here. Her and her husband, and it's these little things that really ground this film because it's also showing the impact of there were Asians in the South too. During
Yeah,
this
yeah.
time. In the community, it's just like when you see a
I,
Western, and some of them
I thought,
are smart enough to put the Chinese, immigrants in there too at the same
yeah,
time. So that's
yeah.
cool.
I thought it was real interesting because they had a store, since it was segregation, they had a white store, then they had a black store. Both,
I know, yeah,
well,
that was crazy because I was trying to figure that out, and it stood out more the second time because she's like, "Go get your mother," and it looks like she's on the white side of the street because there's nothing but white customers on that side, and she leaves that store to come over to here to see what I think it was Smoke or Stack what they wanted. I think that was which one was the meaner one? I think that was Stack. Maybe in the blue and they see what Stack wanted, you know what I'm saying? And they're driving, or maybe that was Smoke. I can't remember, but yeah, that was really cool to me. And then we get to the other side to see there's more of a mixed crowd because the white people they can shop on any side of the street they want to,
yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. Jack O'Connell plays Remick, our bad guy vampire. He did a pretty good job. I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot to do, but as far as just being this menacing type, evil leader, I think he does a good job. He kind of reminds me of the main bad guy in 30 Days of Night, and that brings me around to another thing about this film. Like it is an original story, but Coogler definitely feels like to me a guy that studies other stuff. There's a little bit of 30 Days of Night in here. There's a little bit of Dust Till Dawn. I noticed some thing, with that the garlic scene, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, this guy studies, man, and yeah, like that, man, like you said, man, the cinematography was awesome, man. This thing just looks great, man. They clearly, as soon as this thing starts rolling, you notice they shot it on film. I saw the IMAX version, and I saw the regular version today. So the IMAX is interesting. They were almost identical, except for in the IMAX, there's certain scenes where the camera just goes wider. Those black bars disappear and you get a more fuller picture. And prime example, as soon as the film opens up and the twins are, rolling into town in their car, it's super wide. And then later, they shrink it down. And depending on what's going on in the film, they kind of play around with that, popping in and out. And I don't know if there's a version screening. There might be where it stays full the whole time. That might be with some of the more rare formats where this theaters where this thing is
I,
playing at.
I'm
You might get that.
I'm not sure, but I know in those scenes, I think they had both cameras shooting at the same time. I
Okay.
did find out that listen to one of his interviews this week. That's how they
Yeah.
shot that.
So we had the
I
IMAX
saw it in
playing the IMAX is recording a bigger one, and then the other film is recording a more narrow frame
yeah, yeah.
simultaneously. So when they do play it back, and some of these theaters is going to be kind of, yeah, both are running at the same time, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
you probably see that like when the Blu-ray or 4K comes out,
Hmm.
because that's how Nolan, like Dark Knight and all that. That's how his Batman films. Really, just about everything Nolan does,
Hmm.
after Batman. That's what happens on the screen. But this is one I pretty much expect to see multiple times in the theater. I like this film that much.
I'll definitely rewatch this, man. Because like I don't know, man. Some of these formats are, like I know for sure IMAX is just a little weird. I just don't like how my theater's set up for that, man. Maybe I should poke around, but I got to take advantage of that A-list, man. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah,
can't use that everywhere. So I think when I did go back, even though it was an era or format, I had a more comfortable experience and felt more immersive. There is an interesting scene too, man. I thought was kind of cool. And it played better the second time I saw it. There's a scene, a musical scene where he kind of does this crazy montage kind of thing where he kind of demonstrates how the blues has influenced so much music. I think there was a couple of genres missing though, man. I like, you know what I'm saying? But he had representatives, so I thought that
yeah,
was
all
really
type of
cool,
music.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when we get to the action, man, it's pretty solid. I do kind of wish that was drawn out a little bit more, but it's straight and to the point once the ish hits the fan, and yeah, and there's some nasty gore and some nasty fighting, man. And I will say this too, man. The ending kind of did surprise me too, because it kind of, I thought it was over, but then it keeps going, and I'm like, oh, okay. It kind of has two endings. Sometimes
Yeah, it
I'll
has
knock
some
a
two
film for
post
that.
credit scenes on it. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
kind
but
of
but before we get to the post-credit scenes, it's like there's a point where it feels like it's over, and then it keeps rolling a little bit. You see our twin, kind of just licking his wounds and kind of, you know, going over what happens, and then more stuff happens, and I'm like, oh, it almost seems like it's over. Boom, but then going around, seeing some people get up, I was about to yell out like, "Hey, man, there's more," because I had already seen it. But yeah, I think that post-credit scene is really dope. It just adds more dimension to this thing, man, in
yeah,
an
yeah.
interesting way, So yeah, man, like I said, man, like after mulling over it a little bit, I had to bump this up in my Coogler filmography, man. So I'm gonna probably go, if I gotta rank them. And this is a crazy part about it. All these films are great. He hasn't
I
missed yet.
I'll be honest with you,
Like
Corey.
that's wild. He
I had
hasn't missed.
Yeah, I hadn't seen Fruitville Station, but I did buy a copy of it
Mhm.
today, so I
It's
should
good,
get that in the
man.
mail sometime.
It's one that's hard for me to be forced to watch again because I know what happens, but at the same time, you can see where this guy's going. Like all the
Or
things that are elements in this film, you could see where they started in this guy's vision. Like even Creed, man. Like a lot of people don't give Creed its due because it is based in the Rocky universe, but that is a really good film, man. And
it's
almost,
deep. It
yeah,
is a deep story. It is yeah.
yeah, that thing gave me chills at moments. And even Creed 2, which he was a writer on, but I think he let his friend direct it so they could get a start. And I kind of think Creed 2's story is just as good, if not better
Yeah,
at
yeah.
times, man. It's just like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, he's definitely laid down a really cool path, and it's just cool to see people who love making films just work, And I've been watching probably watched about six,
A
7 hours of this guy
interviews.
talking this week, just leading up to this, digging up interviews and stuff. There's a cool one he put out with Jordan Peele, man, and he's just out there just talking. And I think that's something that's interesting too, because one of the interviews he's like, "This is not, I don't really do this, but I really felt like people had to see this film, and that kind of makes sense. I think with Creed and Black Panther, you could kind of sit back and let the machine do its work, like the Marvel promo machine. These things they're built in for big IPs, Rocky, I mean Creed, even. But for something like this, he probably definitely did have to hit the ground running. Something that is
Yep.
original and and see what's what.
Yeah, that's what I was fixing to say. He pretty much to me right now is on the path with like Christopher Nolan. Christopher
Mhm.
Nolan pretty much did like his Batman films, but then he's been doing his own original stories.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
kind of
it's
hope
the
he
same
goes
thing.
that
It's like
path because
I'm gonna do one for the studio, and I'll make a
yeah,
lot of money, and that allows me to some freedom. They'll humor my vanity project, and
yeah, but
it's cool because I
yeah,
think
because
he's got Black Panther 3 is definitely in the works. He really's been kind of mum about it, but I feel like after that we're going to get another one, that's similar
yeah,
to
but
more like this.
yeah, really, as long as he's making films, I'll be there to watch him because
Mhm.
he's been he has a excellent vision, man.
Yeah.
But like let's just say like
Interestingly
Creed.
enough, though, interestingly enough, bring it back to Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan is one of his mentors. He's
Yeah,
a guy
yeah.
that he
My
consulted
friends,
with
yeah, yeah.
to get into when it was time to use these IMAX cameras. And that conversation's got to be interesting, man, because I think Nolan, well, where's Nolan from, man? He's
He's British. He's British.
yeah, so this British guy talking to the Oakland guy with the thick Oakland accent, man.
Yeah,
Coogler has never changed how he presents himself, and that kind of makes him a little bit more relatable. And when he's doing these interviews, so I would love to hear that conversation, man. That would probably sound crazy,
yeah.
just to hear them two talking to each
But
other. That's wild.
that's the thing, though. It's that love of film. You get,
Yeah,
it's
you're
yeah.
gonna make
That
it
love of
work.
film is yeah,
You're gonna make it work.
yeah.
You
You got to
know,
make it work. Yeah,
but also.
I was kind of thinking about that. But like, let's just say like he has like the two Marvel films and a Creed film. Those are already franchise type deals. And
Mhm.
him coming up with his original story like this, that's
Yeah.
not really reality based like Fruitville Station. I
Hmm.
really can't wait to see what he does next. To be honest
Yeah.
with you,
And the
and this,
crazy
and
thing
this film,
about it,
I just remember them talking about it last. What it probably was like the probably last year this time they were probably talking about this film. You know what I'm
hmm
saying?
yeah.
He's gonna make it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. And the crazy thing about like he's been hits after hits. He made Fruitvale Station for $900,000, dude. And that film, I think, grossed about maybe about 12 million or something like
okay,
that, which is like, yo, that's crazy. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? So then,
If I
going
get
to
giving him a chance with Marvel, that
mhm,
yeah.
yeah. Going on to Black Panther, then Creed is also another big hit, Wakanda Forever. So yeah, man, this guy's off to a great start, man. He's running good, man. So yeah, I just want to see what's next.